can be told, yes, you need to move forward, but how? You need the right tools. You need to be self-aware. What are the blockages? What is stopping you from moving forward? And that makes me think about men and black men. What are the obstacles? What are the barriers? Because black men, you face, the media portrays black men, unfortunately, in a negative, in a negative way. But it's about kind of changing that narrative. And I just love what you're doing with the Goodman Factory and how you're kind of challenging that narrative and standing up and saying, listen, we're here. Yeah. We're here for the black men. We're here for the community, and together we will rise. So it's fantastic. I feel very privileged to be here.
No, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, wait, hold up. So we looked at the analytics, and apparently 25% of you who watch this podcast are not subscribed. Now, that doesn't make sense, because if you're watching this podcast, then you clearly like it and you clearly want more. So the best way to get more is to subscribe. And guess what? Even do another thing, subscribe. Hit that little bell button and put the notifications on. So when we post this exquisite content, right, you'll get it directly in your notifications. So subscribe right now. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're listening to the Goodman Factory podcast episode. You're here with myself, Goodman Manny. I've got Goodman Rizzy here, Goodman Demeji, and we're pleased to have our special guest today, Martina Witter. Oh, I'm so tempted to play with these buttons. I'm sorry, I've got to do it once. I just discovered that and I needed to do it, man. But yeah, listen, we're really, really happy to have Martina here with us today. Really, really good episode, actually, what we've got planned today. Going to be speaking about mental health and things surrounding that particular topic, but we're going to speak to a specialist, someone who's dedicated many years into this particular topic. And I guess with no further ado, Martina Witter, get us started, please. So could you just tell us a bit about yourself, what it is that you do? I've got CBT therapist, but I know for some people they might need to understand a bit more as to what that is. So what is it that you do?
Yeah. So CBT therapist, I'm a cognitive behaviour therapist, and essentially what that means is I work with young people, I work with adults, and help people who are feeling overwhelmed, struggling with their well-being, maybe feeling a bit stressed, worried, maybe experiencing trauma as well. So they're the kind of main areas that I focus on. Also, I'm a mindset coach, do lots of different stuff, but they're all linked. I've got a podcast which is focused on building resilience. Also, I'm a blogger and author of Resilience in the Workplace, and I am proudly the founder of Black Mental Wealth, which is looking at promoting awareness around mental health and well-being. And the plans for the future for this organisation is to create an app for Black and mixed individuals, just to raise awareness around mental health and well-being, because we know that a lot of Black individuals struggle to kind of access support, and because of the stigma around mental health and well-being. And I'm also the co-founder of Black Women in Business and Professionals Network and founder of Rapha Therapy services. That was a lot.
Wow. But you almost made me press a button there, but I'm going to refrain from doing that.
Hold back, bro.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. Busy woman. How do you find the time?
You find the time. When you're passionate about something, you find the time, you make the time. Mm-hmm. And I believe that my purpose here on earth is to have influence and to help people to be the best version of themselves. There's no point in moaning about problems that exist. Be the change. That's my mindset. And looking after your well-being as well helps you to be more productive, gives you strength. I'm a Christian, so looking after my spiritual aspect of me and kind of just being balanced, for me, that is the key. And working out, going to the gym, so I've got energy.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. So can I ask, how did you get into this? Like, where did this journey begin?
Yeah, so I studied psychology at uni. the path that I was taking was initially to be a clinical psychologist. And I'm still passionate about that. For me, age is not a barrier. I'm still going to be a doctor and a psychologist.
Amen.
So that was the plan. And then ultimately I was working in the NHS, and then an opportunity came up to do my CBT training. I wasn't even that interested, if I'm being honest, but I applied, was successful. It was paid for, which was, a blessing, a good thing. And the rest is history. But I always knew I wasn't going to stay in the NHS. I'm a leader. I need to be doing what I'm passionate about, but I'm grateful for that opportunity. And then I ended up leaving, set up my business, and was able to work with young people as well, because that's what I was passionate about. So I could work with young people, work with adults, and then also look at developing like the training arm of the business, which is looking at well-being, resilience, and improving performance and productivity. Yeah.
Okay.
I know you got your list of questions, but one of the things that stood out for me is your podcast that focuses on resilience. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah. So it's called Rivers to Resilience, and it's mainly focusing on, the 7 rivers to resilience, and it's about empowering organisations and individuals to be resilient, to be able to cope with setbacks and challenges. And we know that over the past nearly 2 years, we've all been facing challenges with COVID, and that's what kind of motivated me to create the podcast and to create a space where people can learn from one another and figure out, what is it that's going to help you to be resilient? Because it's all different. We're all wired differently. For some people, it might be being active. For others, it might be that maybe you've got racing thoughts and you're worrying, so you need to do some kind of mindset work. And one of the rivers is kind of looking at spirituality. So it's quite holistic. If you're a spiritual person, then tapping into that and allowing it to work for you. Resilience is, it's so dynamic.
The reason why I think it popped out to me is because I'm a firm believer in the power of your words, the power of your thoughts. And when I was going through my own dark stages, I think mantras and affirmations really brought me out of that really negative mindset that I had during uni and after uni. I was able to not myself, find value in myself and what I'm doing, look after myself and kind of just love myself a bit more. Not necessarily depending on other people or outside sources of what's the word?
Influence?
Not influence. What is it? My mind's gone blank. But just depending on myself more. Learning how to, I guess, fix myself or cope with stress, cope with letdowns and rejections and stuff, and kind of just move forward. So resilience is something I really.
It's like a key value for you.
It's a key value for me, because without resilience, you falter at any opportunity. And also coming from a Nigerian background where we've always heard move forward. I think moving forward and knowing how to move forward and having an actual plan rather than just being told to move forward is so important. So thank you.
I totally agree. One of the rivers to resilience is looking at affirmations, and affirmations, the key and the critical and just ensuring that you're using them consistently. But sometimes there can be blockages to you actually, being able to fully embrace affirmations depending on your background and experience. And then that's where I guess some of the mindset work comes in developing a growth mindset. But no, fantastic to hear that. And like you said, you can be told, yes, you need to move forward, but how? You need the right tools. You need to be self-aware. What are the blockages? What is stopping you from moving forward? And that makes me think about men and black men. What are the obstacles? What are the barriers? Because black men, you face, the media portrays black men, unfortunately, in a negative, in a negative way. But it's about kind of changing that narrative and I just love what you're doing with the Goodman Factory and how you're kind of challenging that narrative and standing up and saying, listen, we're here.
Yeah.
We're here for the black men. We're here for the community, and together we will rise. So it's fantastic. I feel very privileged to be here.
No, thanks for
Oh,
joining us.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What's the link between spirituality and mental health? Because I think growing up, I grew up in a Christian household. My parents are Christian, went to church every Sunday, but I never had that conversation with anyone in church about mental health. I feel like a lot of people at church didn't even understand mental health the way we understand mental health today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny how you mentioned spirituality, but I didn't feel that was connected when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm. And I would totally agree. And I think, in some circles, mental health is overlooked. I grew up in a, traditionally Caribbean church, and mental. It's not talked about mental health. It's kind of overlooked. And even still now, I think people are still slightly more open to it. You've got to be. You can't ignore it because there's more of a focus on it. People are speaking up about it. So clearly it's, it exists and needs to be addressed. But in terms of all the research, what it shows is that having, being able to look towards something external. So I'm just kind of referring to kind of spirituality in general, but if you're a Christian, to God, to Jesus.
That faith,
something,
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something beyond yourself. That's what gives you a purpose. And in the midst of challenge and adversity, it's important to be anchored onto something beyond yourself, whatever that might be for you as an individual. And also the power of community as well. So as a believer, or depending on what your spirituality is, being anchored to that. So in the midst of COVID, not looking just to the government for direction, but looking for something beyond yourself. And that is how it helps to kind of bolster your resilience and improve your mental health. And it instills hope. Essentially, when someone has a faith, that brings hope. Hope helps to counter depression. When someone is resilient, resilience is a protective factor against depression, stress, and anxiety. So that's the connection. And we can all build resilience. Some people might be genetically, biologically more resilient, but you can build it. Resilience is a muscle. Just like you go to the gym or walk, whatever, work out. We've got to work out those resilience muscles.
Yeah.
Do you think mental health is like? No, I'm going to reword that. Do you think mental health should be taught explicitly within the church? I say church because obviously you said you were a Christian, but maybe in other religious settings the same question applies. But for yourself, do you think mental health should be taught more explicitly within the context of Christianity?
Definitely. And that's something that I have done. I'm not doing it as much at the moment, but that is something that I have done. And I guess it's highlighted that a lot of people have got beliefs and mindsets that actually prevent them from building their mental health, cultural beliefs. And then there's all the kind of gender stereotypes which exist in the world and in the church. And it's pressure.
Share some examples.
Yeah. So for example, in the church, I go to a mixed church now, but I've been in like a predominantly black church. I've been to a Caribbean church. I've been to a Nigerian church. So I've got quite a broad range of experience. But one of the examples would be, as a man or as a leader, as a man, you are the leader. You got to provide for your family all the time, which I think is good, but then it's pressure. It's pressure. And in reality, when we think about life, peaks and troughs, you go through challenges, and there might be a period where you can't provide, and then that can have an impact on your self-image, your kind of an impact on your mindset, and then that can cause you to set back. So I think to have a setback, I think there needs to be that flexibility. And sometimes I think certain experiences are over-spiritualized. I've seen that sometimes people have clearly got mental health problems in the church, but it's just overlooked. And some views, not every Christian, but some people think, oh no, it's just the devil or you're guilty or you've sinned. No, mental health is real. It is real. You know, it's about, you just got to get the balance. Just like physical health is real, there is no different. If you're physically ill, generally speaking, you'll go to the doctors or to the pharmacist or, you know, try and resolve it. But you're seeking some specialist input. There's no difference with mental health, no difference. So we need to keep talking about it if we want to rise, if we want to succeed. It's about having that holistic perspective.
It's good that you say that because a lot of times, like my mum does it as well. So she'll be like, you know, I'm praying. I feel like there's I'm not underestimating the power of prayer. Prayer is definitely powerful. That's spiritual. But I don't think prayer is enough. You know, I think to approach things with just, I'm praying, we'll just keep praying, let's just keep praying. It's not enough. Like,
I come from a similar point of view. Yeah,
I think we all do because like I think the same, bro. I don't believe that praying is the answer to everything or the only answer.
Yeah,
I believe that certain things have to be put in place for that prayer to actually, you know, be fulfilled to its maximum potential.
Yeah, I just think the minute you speak about this, like, right, my mom's gonna flog me.
Do you know what? I think
flog me when she hears this tonight. She said, "What about prayer?"
I think we're all having flashbacks, like at the same time.
All the situations that I thought about where family members have been like, "Yeah, I'll pray for it. I'll pray for it." But I'm like, a lot of them prayers that you prayed for me, I put in work. I suffered, man. Like I had to do a lot of work by myself to make sure that them prayers could be manifested or whatever you want to call it, because I had a thought and it just slipped out. What's going on, man?
It's gonna come to you.
But yeah, I don't wait for things to come to me. I chase it.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Me not even chase, but I do everything in my power to make sure that it comes to fruition. I have goals, things that I want to achieve. I'm not just gonna say, I want to achieve this. This is gonna happen. I'll write it down. I have a vision board at home. I write it down. I look at it. I tell myself I'm going to achieve this. Then I look at the little things that I can do to bring me closer towards those goals. I think that's the for me, that's the most practical way of achieving what I want, getting what I want in life. Another thing I do, I write some of these stuff in my wallet. So I've got that I'm going to earn a certain amount of money. Right. I've got that written up in my wallet. It's tearing up, but I'm going to keep it there until it happens. And that aside, I make sure I work hard every day. Like, I know what I need to do, or I have an idea of what I need to do, and I just put all my effort, all my time, all my brain power into it, and just do the best job I can every single day.
Yeah,
and it works. Yeah, it's not like blind faith or blind gambling or whatever. It's like, it's a formula to it. Yeah.
But it is blind faith. It is blind faith in some ways because you're pursuing something you don't have and you're far from. But the difference is you've matched blind faith with work. And I personally think that is at the heart of what God wants us to do as Christians. Like, I think that from the point of view of someone that is a believer in God, I feel like the most important things that we have is wisdom. And like God gave us that, like, you know, we don't have people in this world that are like scientists for the sake of it. Like science goes alongside God's mission and purpose. You get it? God created the scientists. He gave them the brain to be able to create the medicines and you know, whatever it is that we use to help ourselves. And so I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it's the both. But I understand what you're saying because I came from a household similar where the emphasis was always spiritual. And sometimes we forgot that we're also humans as well. And so like, I'm going to bleed, I'm going to hurt, I'm going to be hungry. I can pray, but there's also bread in the fridge and I could go downstairs and I could get it. You get it? Like, you know, so there's a practical thing that you can always do. Yeah. But at the same time, that doesn't negate the power of prayer. And I can say, like, I've seen when actually sometimes you sacrifice a lot of the things and you are still, and prayer in itself is the one thing. But I think it's like, these are all things that you're supposed to do as one. Yeah. But I do think the church, that's why I asked the question, because I feel like sometimes the church misses the real important human conversations around this is practically what we can do as a people, as an individual to help ourselves. every day when you go to work, when you looking after your family, when you're trying to bring home an income, these are the things you can do that are going to support your well-being, but also take you to the next level spiritually. And I feel like the message is always one or the other, or sometimes you only get the spiritual message. But like that's why a lot of people are sitting in church and they do struggle with mental health concerns, but don't know what to do with it because their message has just been, you need to pray about it, you know. So that's not always that helpful. So you mentioned something earlier about black men, and I'm glad you did that. Because we know from many conversations we've had in this podcast that black men suffer in silence far too often. And it's something I think we've all personally kind of experienced ourselves, which is the reason why the Goodman Factory exists. So, you know, what's your experience from the support that you've given to black men? What are the reasons as to why black males in particular seem to struggle with being able to talk, or maybe with the battle of resilience that you mentioned, like from your experience?
So yeah, from my experience, when I've worked with black men or just speaking to black men in general, some of the kind of challenges that they face, and I kind of touched upon it a little bit before, it's those gender stereotypes, like as a black man or as a man, you don't express your emotions or feelings, or for example, if you cry, that means you're weak, for example. Also, a lot of, some of the black men that I've worked with have also kind of experienced trauma or kind of vicarious trauma. So they've not experienced it directly, but they've observed it and then bottled it up for most of their life. And then they're kind of seeking out help or seeking to understand why they are the way they are, why they're kind of displaying, certain behaviours which are preventing them from progressing in life. And then also depression, that's a big one. Struggling with depression, it affects a lot of people. And I think depression can be misunderstood, misconstrued. And I love one of the videos that you created, the Goodman Factory, and just kind of challenging that stigma. And sometimes when people think about depression in the black community, sometimes you might think, oh, you can look at someone and you can tell they're depressed. No, you can't tell nothing. You can't. You know, I work with people who are high functioning and they're depressed. They're very successful, but they're depressed because people develop different mechanisms to cope with the depression. And depression is on a scale. You can be mildly, moderately, or severely depressed. If you're severely depressed, you're not getting out of bed. You will struggle. But if you're mildly depressed, you'll have maybe 1 or 2 days a week when you're struggling, but you know how to get yourself out of that. And you probably don't need medication. But when it's more severe, that's when you need medication. That's when it's kind of indicated and suggested. And when with some of the men that I've worked with as well, what I've noticed is that there tends to be like some type of loss, and that is what would maybe cause them to seek a bit of support, because something that's been supporting them for a large part of their life has been removed. So maybe a relationship or the loss of a family member or friend. So it's kind of crisis point. That don't naturally just think, oh yeah, therapy is an option. And all the research shows that in the NHS that men are a lot less likely to seek, I think it's about 35% that would seek support through the NHS for therapy. Wow. So that is not really on men's or black men's radar. Yeah. So that's my experience of it. And, I just love normalizing someone's experience, because sometimes you can underestimate the power of normalizing and just having someone to listen to you and say, yeah, I get it. Of course you would feel that way. And sometimes I think as the black community, sometimes we underestimate the impact of our experiences of racism. Sometimes it's like, yeah, strong black woman, strong black man, keep going. But we're human.
Yeah, no, for real.
Running on fumes.
Yeah.
Keep going.
It's true.
Especially when
you burn out.
Especially in a world where you see people that don't experience that trauma that we experience. and you see, like, just imagine a life without experiencing racism, or even witnessing institutional racism, or seeing like Bates racism on the internet or on TV.
Or people being killed and shot. Every year. Like,
imagine living a life
to do
like that.
walks every year because another one of our black brothers has been shot dead somewhere or killed, or, you know, someone's got their foot on their neck. Yeah, like that in itself is trauma. But then also we inherit trauma as well. Like, you think about our parents and their experience and how they managed it and how that's impacted us. Like, you were saying something earlier and it made me think there's like an intersect between like culture and masculinity, because I feel like a combination of both for a black male can be quite detrimental, because like culturally, like if you come from like a similar background to like myself, like so like with like Nigerian Yoruba background, it's quite frowned upon to talk about your problems in general. Like there's like a pride thing, you know, even when things are looking crap, you show your very best, like no one can see, you know, like you go to church and you wear the best golden gown, but at home, like everything's upside down, or like you've just come from a real mess, but no one can see you, like, you know, looking bad. But then I think there's also then when you add in the challenges of like being a man, especially if you're being kind of like guided by an older man, they specifically been taught you don't show weakness, like don't moan about it, like just get up, you know, kind of thing. I think you shared an example where like you had a football injury and either out of fear or someone literally said to you, come on man, like it's just a broken leg or whatever it was, you know, it's that kind of message. You know, but I've had something similar. Like when I lost like my best friend, I was pretty much told, you know, like people die, like you need to, like you're going to be here forever, like come on, let's go, like move it on. And like I can recognize it came from maybe a good place in that they want me to just be strong, but it's like, but I'm not strong.
I don't know if it comes from a good place.
Maybe I'm even being nice. But
I've been through something similar to you, and I remembered when I watched back the episode of you talking about it. And one time, so I've got sickle cell, and part of sickle cell is like sometimes your bones can be weakened. This was when I was young, so my arm, I had a crisis in my arm, so my arm was hurting me, so my bone had weakened. So I had done something, like stretched to get something, and at that point, I heard a click. So I remember that I went to go tell my dad. I told him, I was like, oh, my arm's hurting me. And he was like man up, like, you know, like, listen, man. I went to the hospital and they done an x-ray on my arm. That was a fracture.
Wow.
That was a fracture. So, yes, it's like, you can say, oh, it's a place of love. Like, you know, that they're telling you, like, you know, you got to be strong, but
yeah, it's not. It's not
toxic
enough.
in a way. It's very damaging.
Toxic. At the same time, would you say it comes from a place of not knowing any better too, like not knowing?
Because if you're raised that way, then that's the way you're gonna raise your children as well. I just think we're we've been born at a great time.
Yeah,
we're fortunate to be born at a great time in this technological age where we have so much information that we've consumed online, and I think we underestimate the power of all these like memes, like, you know, like the post on Instagram where you see like text and you're just reading it thinking, oh, that's true. And then you keep swiping away. You're consuming all that information and this is adding to your knowledge, you know, and the algorithms show you what you want to, what you're interested in, what you want to see. So if you're interested in mental health, like since I've been interested in mental health, I've been consuming a lot of knowledge and information from the timeline. So I know better now. Whereas with our parents, they only know what they were taught and the experience they had with their parents. So,
and we learn from their mistakes as well. Yeah. Aside from technology, you know, there's many things that like I've seen my parents do. Like bless them, I do think overall their intentions were always good, but they just it wasn't executed well for lots of different reasons. Yeah. But like there's many things I've seen and I'm like, I will absolutely do something different for my family, or I will definitely like, you know, treat my wife in a different way, or I will 100% make sure that with my daughter or with my son, that's not the approach I take. And I think that's just with everything. You take the good with the bad, and you add it to yourself, don't you? You add it to yourself. I've actually got something here because I found this really, really interesting, and it's kind of going back to like the experience of like, you know, black men that you've had to support. And there was a post that you shared, and that post was basically exploring the 5 things that black men struggle with in particular. And it was in no order, but we can do that now. But it was in no order, and it was money and finances, a cause for mental health concerns, race and racism, jobs and career, relationships and family, health and issues. You touched kind of briefly on it, and you said, it does seem to be when there's a loss of some sort that you tend to either get, I guess, maybe more people subscribing to therapy, or maybe that's the point where you realize they've broken down. But is there anything in particular that you always get like as a theme as to like why men struggle, maybe generally?
Not one particular theme, but I think because unfortunately for men, it doesn't necessarily come natural, or it's not kind of embraced or promoted in society that you talk about your feelings. You just talk about the good stuff, or maybe, superficial stuff, because when you talk about those heart stuff, that kind of makes you vulnerable, which will ultimately counter that narrative of being a strong man or a strong black man. So I think that would kind of account for it. That would explain. But in terms of the loss, the reason why I kind of mentioned it was in the context of the low mood and depression, because all the research shows that it's when someone experiences a real or imagined loss, that's when that's what would kind of trigger depression or hopelessness. And unfortunately, we know across the world there's a lot of black men are losing their lives. So just even observing that, I'm just thinking about in the middle of COVID and George Floyd. Oh my gosh, it was awful. All that vicarious trauma, and it was you just feel like it's you.
Yeah.
And that in itself can make you feel just totally deflated. Like, what is going on? Is there any hope? And then, I'm a black woman. I'm not even a black man. I just know the challenges for you as black men is far greater. And just when I think about the media, just kind of in preparing for the today's podcast, I was just thinking about all the factors that it have an unfortunately negative impact on black men and mental health, and how the world at large, not generally, so not everyone, but some people perceive black men. I was thinking about the media. We need more black professionals in the media as decision makers, because unfortunately, when we think about TV programs, black men are usually cast in a negative light as gangsters. Yep. You're not necessarily seeing, you're seeing more now because of Black Lives Matter, but the reality is that is constantly portrayed. That's the stereotype that we're exposed to. So then when you're out in the community, people are looking at you like that, and it's subconscious.
Yep. Yeah.
If you see, and I'm being real, like as a black woman, if you see someone or a black guy or someone with a hoodie, it's automatically a negative connotation.
Yep.
And all of that needs to be challenged, and it needs to, the narrative needs to change, and that can affect someone getting a job. You should be able to apply for a job, turn up for an interview. Now, if you want your hair in cornrows, cane row, whatever, turn up like that. Yep. But all of that has an impact. And for me, I know I've gone through my own journey as a black woman thinking, all right, in my profession, not many black people need to turn up with my hair straight. And I like my hair straight, but it's like, you know what? No, you just need to be yourself. And I feel like in the midst of COVID and then Black Lives Matter, like I found myself, like I found my voice. I was like, I've got something unique. I'm a black woman, yes, and I'm a psychotherapist, and there's not many of us, that I need to speak up for my people. And that is what I'm doing, and I will continue to do, because that's when change comes, and we've got to embrace fully who we are and not be afraid to share. Sorry, I think I've totally deviated, but I'm just getting all passionate up from here.
I'm glad you said that, because when you decide to stand up and speak your mind, you don't know how many people are actually dependent on someone like yourself to expose yourself and bring yourself to light, so they can actually like look up to you and be like, okay, there's someone that looks like me, and they're sharing all this information. Like, there's so much there's so much that can be done with the information that you share on all your platforms, your podcast, YouTube that you didn't want to mention. Like there's so much out there in like regards to like help and information. It's just sometimes we just need to be steered in
That
like,
direction.
into the right direction. I'm glad you mentioned media as well, because when you're speaking, I was just thinking to myself as well. I was like, since I've been a kid, since from a young age, watching TV, films and stuff, I'd always see women, female characters expressing their emotions and stuff, no matter who they are. But the men are always tough. They're gangsters. Even if they're businessmen or whatever, they're always tough. Never show their emotions. Never speak about how they're feeling. It's always done it's very, very fast. It's never actually like delved into to a point where, as an audience, you kind of understand. Maybe more so today, things have changed. But I remember as a kid,
Growing up.
it never really happened. You see your superheroes and stuff. They're all these tough guys. They're action, muscular, whatever. I don't care about much. And I think so. As like, it all starts from young. Like we're fed as kids, this image of men being these strong, tough characters, and the women are more open to expressing how they feel, showing how they feel, and all that stuff. So I think maybe that's why women are more likely to be open with their emotions and stuff, and with us, not so much.
Yeah, it's a combination of things, because I think even before like mainstream Western media, if you look through like the history of time, men have always had a role of being like, you know, the breadwinner, person that goes out and slaughters and kills a couple of people in the neighborhood if something's gone wrong, whatever. I do think the dynamics of males in society has changed, and I do think it's gotten more toxic as a result of things. But there's generally, I think, through the history of time, been an expectation that like you judge a man and his masculinity on his strength, on his ability to bring home food, to provide for his family, and during certain periods of time, on his ability to kill, to slaughter, to be out for a long period of time and be able to come home with blood on his hands to show he's a, you know, and you think about the most prominent rulers, the ones that are praised the most in the history of time, they all generally have something in common, you know, and they're usually leaders, but leaders of war of some sort, you know, or have led nations through all kinds of strategies. But you're never going to hear us kind of laud a leader and judge him based on the fact that he was really like, you know, kind of like nice and like, you know, he spoke softly and maybe he let his emotions out during a press conference. No, like you wanna see Putin talk and there is an attractiveness to that. I actually don't think that it shouldn't be that. I think actually you just need to be able to find the right balance between you know, like masculinity isn't just about strength and everything else to do with like James Bond. It's you need a bit of everything else. That's why for me growing up, I loved I forgot his name, Damon Wayans. For My Wife and Kids.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Like I watched that and that changed my...
Definitely.
Like without being like over the top, it really like almost changed like my perception on men and black men. Because I grew up with a dad who was like quite tough, gave lots of lectures, but you know, most of the time he went through one ear out the other because it was just like, you know, he's just moaning at me, whatever. And he was kind of like that typical, like all my friends were afraid of him and stuff. Like, oh, like your dad, bro. Listen, he's walking out, see him walking down the road, like, oh, bro, he's going to bang you up when you get home, that kind of thing. Like, but that was all there was to it at the time. That's what it felt like. But as a family, we would watch like My Wife and Kids and we would be in hysterics. Yeah. But what I learned from him was like, he was present, he was funny, he was strict. But his strict wasn't like, oh, like you go up to your room and don't come down again. Like he would do crazy things like, oh, you want to play that game? That's fine. And then he would show up at the party, for instance. You know, but there was ways of discipline that I'd never seen before. And he really kind of like shaped a perspective or a perception, should I say, of black men and a black family man. And I thought that was quite key. Uncle Phil as well for My Wife and Kids.
Do you feel like you wanted to adopt? Do you feel like you wanted to adopt like their characteristics? Because
100%.
When I was watching My Wife and Kids, I was like, when I'm a father, that's how I'm gonna be.
Exactly the
same. What I mean? And that's the power of the media. So when you're showing, you know, characters and like, so the media is very good at ignoring
those
like certain personalities and traits. They'll show you what they want to show you. So imagine you're just used to watching something. You have your mind won't open up to different characteristics or different ways you can be as a human being. So like for young people, if you're growing up and you're just watching stuff like Top Boy, Power, you're thinking, okay, so the only way to become powerful is to, you know, sell drugs, you know. But that's why we need to be shown positive representations in the media. And I feel like with Goodman Factory, we're at a point where, you know, we're not relying on the media. You know, we're doing things on our own channel, YouTube channel, and we're gonna show positive representations. Like for example, the Father's Day campaign that we do every year. I've had so many people message me to say, I've never seen these types of representations of black men. Simple things like just showing black men in their children's lives.
Yeah, reading a book or like, you know, playing with their
Talking
kids.
about how they want to be present as a father. People, grown women are messaging me saying, I've never seen that before. It's a bit triggering because it's reminding me of how the father that I didn't have. And I wish I had that. That's the power of us showing fathers in their children's lives. And with Goodman Factory, we are going to forever keep doing that every year, showing it. Because if we're not doing it, no one else is. I think there was only like two brands that I saw showing these positive representations. It was like Daily Paper and Goodman Factory. And we need to normalize it. We need to normalize showing positive like fathers in their children's lives. The media will have you believe that, you know, black men just breed women and fuck about.
Or are absent, not there.
Like
Deadbeats.
Deadbeats. That's what they show us in the
I hear
media.
that so much, man.
They love showing deadbeats, you know.
Like it's so easy to show that image of black men. It's way too easy.
That's why there's so many other races and cultures that have this perception that, you know, if my child gets with a black man, you know, he's just gonna give you a baby and then F off. You know.
I guess I think the saddest thing as well is that like with like those women coming to you saying, "Oh, I've never seen anything like this." Like, it's sad because it's a lie. It's a lie that it's a lie. That's why it's sad because we're not recreating something, or we're not creating a brand new story. Like you are showing people who every day have been doing this, and there are many men in their 50s and 60s who had been doing this, and many men before that. But I guess the power comes with those who control, in this sense, the media. Because if there was no media, people can't make that assumption or judgment because there's nothing to base it on. But when you watch films every day, when you watch TV shows every day, when you watch adverts every day, when you watch music videos every day, all you can go off is literally by what you see. Yeah. And so for me, the most important part of this conversation is not just like we need to see more representation of like men like us, or like, you know, like black men just being normal, whatever. We have to create and control what it is that we want to show as well. And that's why for me the Goodman Factory is powerful, because you know, like yourself and Malik, the vision is always we control what we want people to see. You get it? Like, and we are normal people. You get it? You're an actor, you know, you're an entrepreneur, I'm an assistant head teacher, but we're just normal men. This isn't a showcase of any of our individual jobs. We are just normal men talking. Some of us have families, some of us don't. Some of us do things, some of us, you get it? Like, and that's what's meant to be normal. And unfortunately, a lot of young boys don't grow up and have that experience of seeing men just being normal men. That's the key, because it's normal. We're not doing anything special. We're just being normal.
Just being ourselves.
Just being normal. So yeah, but yeah, I'm really happy that we had this conversation, because it made me really reflect as well and just think about some of the things that I've experienced growing up, and maybe the reasons why I didn't open up. I haven't actually got a therapist yet, but it's something that I definitely want to get on job. I had a therapist last year. I think I've had 2 situations where I've had 2 therapists. I don't think I had more than 2 episodes with them. And I guess I'll go on record and saying a part of me just felt like I just didn't connect with them. And we've had this conversation before, maybe not necessarily on air. And it was quite a divisive topic. But like for me, I do feel like there's something important about speaking to a black man or woman.
Oh, yeah.
Because, so you could probably talk a bit, because I that's my personal thing, that they weren't black people, and I held back I just felt like if I tell them about what I did at 16, I could get the police knocking on my door the next day. You know, is there some kind of confidentiality? You know, or there was just something a bit. I just wasn't comfortable. I just felt like, I know you're about to help me, but I don't really feel I can go deep. And I just don't think you understand the Black experience. So what's your take on that? Because you could disagree, but...
No, I completely agree. With any therapeutic relationship, the foundation of it is the relationship. So you need to connect with that person. There needs to be trust. You need to like them. That is the reality. You need to like them. And that's why I say most private therapists offer initial consultation. So even if it's not just on the grounds of race, there needs to be some synergy. You need to feel like you can open up or that they understand your experiences. And that's why there are organisations that promote Black therapists, psychologists, counsellors, or therapists from minority groups. So there's an organisation called Bataan. So that's what they do. They promote it. And I have people, contacting me saying, I just typed in Black therapists and you came up. You know, people, I totally get it. But I guess for me, when I've had a counsellor, they've not been Black. But it's worked for me. Depends on what is the area that you're focusing on. And I think also probably for me, I probably wasn't even, when I had the support, I probably wasn't even aware of Black, although I'm a Black therapist, it's not something that's necessarily promoted a lot. I think it's probably only the last 2 or 3 years where there's more of an awareness. But I think it is key. You need to be able to trust that person. With your heart, you've got to be vulnerable. You don't, and unfortunately, because of racism, structural racism, you're kind of contending with all of those thoughts. And the therapist could be totally fine and they could really help you, but the reality is you're dealing with all that stuff. So if you don't want to be dealing with it, well, go and get Black therapists. Otherwise, you'll be spending more money, dealing with all of that internally. It's going to take a lot longer to get to the root.
Yeah.
And even for me, I've worked with people from minority backgrounds, like Asian people, and they said, well, I came to you because I just felt more relaxed. I know that you'll probably understand a bit more about racism or what it is to be a minority, but someone who hasn't had those experiences or isn't exposed to them wouldn't. So it's real. Yeah. And we should have choice. And I know someone contacted me, I contributed to an article in the Metro, and it was around this very subject. And they were asking me, in the NHS, can you request a Black therapist? I'm like, or counsellor? I'm like, you can, but you might be waiting for a long time because there's not many. So I think, unfortunately, that's why I guess you probably got to look privately if you don't want to wait. But they do exist. I'm here. Yeah, we're there, but I think we need to have more of a collective
approach.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I think it's that choice thing's important though, because when I applied through the NHS, I think it was talking therapies that they put me forward to. On both occasions, I was just told, this is the person that's gonna be doing your session. And I didn't mind at the time. It was only in hindsight, I was like, it's probably because I was just told I'm going to be doing it with this person at this time. I didn't have no consultation of any sort, So yeah, I think that I don't know. I think that is important to be able to choose. Most of the people that I know, especially the Black men who have done successful therapy and are still doing it, they've all gone private. And maybe not always a Black therapist, but for them having the choice to be able to do so, I think for them was quite empowering and quite important. One thing we haven't spoken about much was you're an author. Yeah,
I am.
We don't come across authors every day. So do you want to tell us a bit about your book, what it's about, what inspired it?
So it's called Resilience in the Workplace, and it's all around building resilience for entrepreneurs and for employees, because work is a challenge, work is stressful. And I thought, rather than just keeping all of my thoughts and knowledge and insights and experience and expertise in my head, let me just put pen to paper and create a book that's really accessible, very kind of practical. It's not very long, but it's something that's going to help you on your journey to building resilience. And, you know, it includes cut quotes, it's motivational. And I think it's also exposure to, it's not therapy, but some of the areas that you could potentially look at. So it's kind of getting you on that journey, helping you to think about self-awareness, thinking about journaling, thinking about, okay, you know, what's maybe affecting my resilience. So essentially that's why I created the book. When I was having some coaching actually, and that was one of there were lots of areas that they were sharing in terms of, you know, these are the things you need to do to establish your authority. Because all of us, we've all got expertise, but it's about the application. It's about taking action. And that was me. Rest is history, to be honest. There will be more in the future. But I'm a believer in taking action.
Yeah.
Taking action. Don't just stop talking, just take the action.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. Resilience for resilience for me is quite important. So like in my school, we've got values, and like part of my role actually is to promote the values through the school. And one of those is resilience. And there's a term in education that's kind of like become a buzzword within like the last decade, which is growth mindset. And I did a lot of studying on that when I first became a teacher, but I do think it's really important. However, I think you said something earlier at the beginning of the podcast. It's quite important to not just tell young people to be resilient and explain what resilience is. You kind of almost have to give them, you have to coach them through it. And like in the school context, for instance, like young people have to, for example, fail and do something wrong. And the resilience comes from them being at a point of maybe, you know, meltdown or suffering, or, you know, like they're struggling or they're in pain because of that situation, but then being supported and coached through the whole, actually, that's all right, I'm going to help you. And then the next time you do it, you're not going to fail. Or the next time you do it, you're going to do it a bit better. And so that's kind of how we do resilience through the school. Do you think the formula is very different for young people and for adults in terms of how to build resilience?
I think it's just kind of adapting it. I think as a young person, because of like depending on how old they are in the developmental age, a more of a behavioural approach would work. So actually being a role model. So as a teacher or as a parent, showing resilience and then allowing your child or family member to learn through doing. Whereas I guess when you're older and because you're more kind of cognitively developed, you can maybe look at some of those beliefs which are maybe hampering your resilience. So essentially, for younger people, because of the developmental age, focusing maybe more on a behavioural approach, and adults, cognitive and behavioural, and lots of different approaches, and then probably integrating spiritual aspects as well, whereas, you know, young children are less aware of spirituality.
That makes sense. What do you guys do? What do you think you do to help yourself become more resilient?
I think to become more resilient, well, for me, my personal experience was I had to get to an extreme low. So when I was in uni, I suffered with depression. I think that was my all-time low. I really felt alone. I was in uni. I knew I felt like I shouldn't have been there. I went because I wanted to leave home. I went because I know my family wanted me to get a degree and stuff. But I also did love sports. But I think being in uni, it kind of changed my thoughts on that. Everything was a lot harder than I expected. I didn't receive the help that I needed. And it was just a downhill spiral from that. I ran into money issues as well. So I was massively stressed out to the point where I wouldn't go to lectures. I stopped going gym. I wouldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Like there would be nights where I'd just be awake. And yeah, I just wouldn't leave my room. And I really felt like things were over. Until the point where I decided I wasn't going to go back to uni. I told my parents that I had taken a gap year. I had no intentions of going back to uni. So I was staying at my auntie's place for a little bit. And every now and again, my mum would be like, "Oh, when are you going back to uni? Uni starting up soon." I'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's fine. I've sent my application. It's just waiting to go through." I'm thinking, what can I actually do? There's no way I can go back. It ruined me. I remember just having headaches all the time, feeling sick. Then I've got pictures of when I lost weight, and sometimes I look back at them and I'm like, damn, I've come so far.
Wow.
Then from uni, working at Amazon, that was another low. I was working night shifts. I was doing like 6 to 7 nights a week and wasn't getting much sleep, wasn't eating, wasn't doing anything I enjoyed, wasn't seeing family at all because when I'm awake, they're asleep and vice versa. And yeah, I think what got me out of Amazon is I got fired on my holiday. So I did a bit of extras work, so background in film and TV. And a job came through and I was like, you know what? I need to take this opportunity. It's something that I enjoy doing. I need to meet new people. I don't want to be stuck in this warehouse. So I had like 16 days holiday. So I booked the holidays off. On my second day of holiday, Amazon messaged me saying that I'm not needed anymore. And, you know, instead of like crying about it, I just said, you know, this is an opportunity. This is the universe sending the message. I took it and I just kind of pursued with the whole extra stuff. And over time, like my confidence started coming back. As I was meeting new people, I just felt like more alive. I was making relationships here and there. Then opportunities were coming my way. Things progressively got better. I eventually told my parents that I wasn't going back to uni. They didn't take that too well. But it's only when the acting started picking up and, you know, they see me on TV and stuff, they started supporting me, which is nice. And, you know, they're bragging about me with other family members. But that whole journey was me having to convince myself that I'm better than the situation that I'm in. And, you know, I want better for myself, my situation, and knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I've always believed that I'm destined for greatness. And even like, there's been certain points in my life when random people have said things to me. They've just been like, so 2 examples. When I was in Amazon, there was an uncle, we called him Uncle G. He was a funny guy. He's a Nigerian uncle. He's like one of the funniest guys ever. And he was known for sleepwalking while he's putting parcels inside the gates. Like we all did it. Like the Amazon work was so hard. We all did it. We'd do like 14 hours sometimes. He'd sleepwalk and he'd put the boxes in the right cages. It was insane. And one time he came up to me. He's like, "Oh, what's your name?" I was like, "Dimeji." Like, "No, what's your proper name?" I said, "Ola Dimeji." He's like, "You know, you're the chosen one." And I'm just thinking, this guy is sleeping again. This guy's just chatting rubbish. But it always stuck in my mind. Then when I got fired from Amazon and I was with my auntie, I went to the chicken shop and I made an order. And an older lady walked up behind me and she was like, "Oh, you've got a great voice, you know, your voice needs to be heard."
Wow.
Like, sorry, pardon? She's like, your voice needs to be heard by people, you know, you need to make sure, whatever you do, you need to make sure that your voice is heard.
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, thank you." Like,
It sticks with you.
Honestly, it sticks with you and you believe that
Yeah, you need.
they knew what they're talking about and I believe what they're talking about. And just having that in my head is like just skyrocketed my confidence, my belief in myself, in God, the universe. Like, honestly, like in our lives, we may or may not realize when signs are sent to us. And I think it's very important to be aware of when these things are presented to us, because it could be the difference between being stuck in that same hole and completely turning your life around. I'm very happy I say happy, but I appreciate everything I went through back then, although it was very hard. And at the time it felt like I was never, ever going to get out of it. Where I am now is completely different. And yeah, all I can do is thank my younger self for never giving up, for having that resilience, because boy, I'm enjoying what I went, I'm enjoying, I'm reaping the rewards of that resilience and that self-belief and that hunger.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you know, one thing I love is that through the downside, you know, you hanged on to your dreams, you know, and I think that is what helped because a lot of people are in that same position, but they don't know what they want to do, which I think is a lot worse. Just not knowing, having no vision. Going through downside and with no vision sounds like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, it is a nightmare.
Do you know what? Go on. What was you gonna say?
I'm just gonna one more thing. So I think one other thing that helped me is that I never had a plan B. Like I dropped out of uni.
Right.
Like I wasn't the greatest in school. Like I wasn't the most academic or whatever. I wasn't that great at sports. Like I was an all rounder. Like I can play every sport, not to a high level. I played American football, basketball, soccer, table tennis, all of that stuff. Like I play it, but I was never great at it. I played American football. I got injured in training. Like my wrist is all mashed up now. I can't do anything with it. But damn, where was I going with this?
Your dreams, like no plan.
You had no other choice.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So no plan B. I just knew that acting for me or entertainment, because I even dabbled in modeling as well. I just knew that whatever I set my mind to, I'm going to be successful in it.
That's
one
good.
way or another.
Good. You believed in yourself.
I believe in myself. No one can tell me that I'm going to flop. I will never believe it.
Yeah.
I know that. I know my worth.
Even during the downside, when you're
Even during the
depressed.
downside, I think that's when you have to believe in yourself the most.
Exactly.
Because you have to prove to yourself that you can do it.
Yeah. And that's how you build resilience. Like
Yeah.
That aids towards building resilience.
Like you said, it's a muscle. You work it every day.
Yeah.
You get stronger and stronger. And people around you will see that muscle is developing in you, and they'll start, like, you will attract the same type of people. You will attract people who are as hungry as you are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but what you just said there is key, and I'm glad you said that. And I think that's the one thing I'd want our listeners to take from it, because although we talk about strategies that we use to build resilience, that might seem like we've done it all. You did a major part of that, but there were moments where maybe you didn't think you need it, but that moment where the woman came into the chicken shop, that was important.
Oh, I needed
That was part of the journey. When the guy said, Demeji, do you know your name? We know that as men, there's importance in knowing your identity and how that actually makes you. You get it? Like,
Said you're the chosen one.
Bruv, come on.
Bro, I still think about it.
man.
Yeah.
Like,
Think
even sometimes when I'm
I was just going to say, like, when a son that's born into a royal family, son of a king, do you think anybody can ever tell him
Imagine the
he's,
energy.
he's nobody?
Yeah.
You get it? Do you see the importance of knowing yourself? You know your identity. You know where you come from. And a lot of people fail and struggle and don't have resilience because they might have a dream. They may know what they want to do, but somewhere along the way, they've lost their identity, their purpose, or it hasn't been said to them. So they fall at every opportunity that comes to them, because it's like, I don't remember where I'm going again. I don't really remember what it means to be Demeji. You get it? Like, I haven't had somebody say to me, actually, no, people are going to hear your voice no matter what you want. And that's why I think when we talk about these strategies and things, like resilience is great, but it also reminds us that, like, when you fail, when you suffer, there's importance in the community. And that's what you said, that's people you didn't even know necessarily like that, but they put bricks for you to stand on, and it's the equivalent to going to the gym and people seeing you flexing, but then when they realize you're struggling, you get the guy that'll be like, yo bro, do you want a spot? Can I help you? And every now and again you need that spot, you need someone, and you got to identify those people in your life as well. I got my one, that's mine, one of mine over there, Malik on the camera, because when things were low and rough for me, he used to be like, bro, like, you're not just anybody, like, like, you've got something that's unique, or, you're in a position where, think about where you was 10 years ago and what we was up to, blah, blah, blah. So you need those people around you, man, for sure, to help.
Just answering your question as well on resilience. And like you said, like with Malik, so I would say when I'm going through the downside, one way of getting out of it and building resilience is, I feel like my community has supported me. My community, which is like my family members, play a large part. My business partner, my best friends, my good friends. So, and you said, community. I feel like obviously we're at a time where individualism is at all-time high, and we're losing the sense of community in this digital world. And we have like fake communities. You feel like you're part of something, but really you're not.
Discord.
Do you know what I mean? Like Twitter communities. It's not really real community. Like, when you're going through the struggles, these people don't know. They're getting on with their lives. But I feel like it's very important to have a foundation. Like, ask yourself, like, we get to a point where you just, you think to yourself, when I'm going through the downsides, who do I have around me to, like, help me come out of this? You have to constantly assess that all the time.
Yeah.
All right, so two things I want to say. So, okay, so one thing I've started making a point to do is complimenting people, random people on the street, especially young black boys.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I was in a shop.
I love that.
I saw a brother with a do-rag on.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yo, bro, like I like your do-rag, man." And he's like, "Oh, thank you." And his mum smiled. The way his mum smiled, like it was. I was like, I felt so good inside. Then the other day, I ordered a smoothie from some shop, and the brother behind the till, he had some braids. It's fresh. It's fresh. And I was like, bro.
Amarian. Did you call him Amarian?
No, I didn't. But I was like, bro, I like your braids, man. Like, just that simple line. He's like, bro, he said to me, bro, I like your do-rag, man. I know you got some waves under there. I was like, nah, allow me, bro. I've been trimming ages. But like, I know he appreciated that.
Yeah,
and
man.
it's someone I see quite frequently too. So like, it's
building each other up.
developed into conversations. Sometimes
I love
we just speak about anything. But yes, one thing I wanted to do at the beginning of the podcast is ask how everyone is doing. I kind of like, I want to make it a regular thing where we actually say how we're feeling, not just, yeah, I'm good, I'm all right.
That automated response.
Yeah. So we'll start off with you, Rizzy. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good.
How's your week been and all that?
No, it's been great. I've been in a great space. I've had a great start to the year. So I've spent a lot of time indoors working, stepping out to like go for walks. But I'm in a great space. Obstacles are always there. I don't think I can live a life with no obstacles. But I just ride it.
Lovely,
Yeah.
good to hear. And you know what? You just mentioned obstacles. For myself, I know like in myself that I love life with obstacles. Without obstacles, I wouldn't be great. Without obstacles, I wouldn't get better. So I kind of welcome these barriers and these obstacles and these challenges because like they've made me the person that I am, the resilient, strong, hungry person. I'm starving. I'm always looking for an opportunity. Just
Good, man.
I'll
That's
just
the energy.
buy into it like a
man.
lion. You know what I mean? Emmanuel?
Yeah, for me, like I was gonna say the generic, I'm good. I am good. I think for me, I always recognize my blessings. So like you said, like I know that there's obstacles. There probably are things that have gone wrong this week, and like my little like baby, she's not well, and I felt quite poorly and tired this week. But like generally speaking, like and genuinely, like I feel blessed, and I've started this year. I feel weirdly enough, I started off this year with COVID because we caught COVID over Christmas break, but my work is a big part of my life at the moment because it's real. It's not just a job to me. It's like I've got a vision and my job plays a part in that. And I feel like the way I've started my work this year, I felt strong. I felt invigorated. I feel, motivated, hungry, like you said.
Yeah.
And so I feel good. Trying to balance the work-life thing. But I'm getting better at that as well. Like knowing when to shut off from work and say, nope, no emails after this time. So other than that, I'm good. Martina, seems like I'm passing the baton on to you.
Yeah, no, I am good. I am running into 2022, running into blessings, opportunities, and I've started this new health program called the Elevate, and it's focused on, it's quite a holistic program, looking at my physical health, emotional health,
Spiritual
goals. Not really spiritual, but yeah, I'll kind of deal with that. But yeah, but it's just. Yeah, I've just got clarity.
Focus.
Good.
Clarity. When you've got clarity, you are unstoppable.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So
isn't it?
I'm just, 2022, watch out world.
Yeah.
I am rising. I'm excited. I'm just trying to calm myself down now. But
actually, question. So you said like you have like crazy clarity right now. For those who may be feeling a bit lost and don't know how to maybe get this clarity in like moving forward with their lives and stuff, are there any methods, any tools, any ways that people can work towards building clarity in maybe work, relationships for the new year? Any tips or?
Yeah, what I would say is sit down with yourself and ask yourself, what are your values? Because when you understand your core values, what is important to you, and then align yourself with them, that will make it easier for you to think about, well, what are your goals? Where do you want to be? because we've all got a purpose here on earth. But it's important that we don't compare ourselves to others. We're all unique. We've all got something unique to bring. Forget about competition. What can you bring to the table? What are you going to do different this year? You've got to be intentional, checking in with yourself every day. Are you making those steps towards those goals? If you're not, you need to readjust and be resourceful. You might not have the money, you might not have this and that, but reach out to people. Don't underestimate the power of connection and action. Me doing follow-up in my business, it's just powerful. I've not been as good as I should have been in the past, but I'm just seeing the power of following up and just having that clarity. And actually you feel less stressed when you've got the clarity because you know what you need to be focusing on. So yeah.
So it's very, very key.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Listen, guys, it's been a great podcast. Again, you've been listening to Goodman Manny, Goodman Rizzy, Goodman Dimeji, and listen, we've been very honoured and privileged to have Martina Witter with us today, and we want to just say thank you again for coming on and for just blessing us and helping our community.
Thank you very much.
Press that button, bro.
Yeah, come on, sorry, I had to do it. Guys, you've been listening to the Goodman Factory. We just want to say thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe when you're listening to us today. Follow us on podcasts. Follow us on Spotify, on Apple. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the whole shebang. But also follow our lovely guest today. Do you want to just say your Twitter page so our followers know where to find you?
Or your Instagram.
Instagram, Rapha Therapy Services, yeah. I use Twitter, but not as often. But yeah, Rapha Therapy Services. Or, yeah, LinkedIn, Martina Motivator Witter. But yeah, that's where I am.
There will be links.
Check out the videos.
Yeah, there'll be links. Perfect. Thank you. And again, just finishing off, if you want to bless yourself or someone else, go on the Goodman Factory website, www.goodmanfactory.com, and get yourself or someone that you love a lovely Goodman Factory bed oil, face oil, brush, comb, the whole shebang. Get it all. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. You've been listening again to the Goodman Factory. Have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.